Hello, my name is CalebBilling, and I will be doing my presentation on my Comp150 assignment. My student number is 300228045. Here's my face. Okay, I will give you a walkthrough of the code. First, we'll start with the file handler. My file handler class. We have our the size of the 2D array. We have our two files, one for the checkers board and one for player data. I didn't get to finish the player data, but I still have it here. Our first method is our save board method. We use file writer, print writer. We loop through the rows and then the columns of the 8x8 2D array, and then we save it character by character into the .txt file. Then we say the board is saved into the file, and then we close the print writer, and then this is for error handling. Next we have our load board method. We use scanner to read the file. We start at row 0, we go row 0, and we scan the whole line, so row 0, column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's the first full row, second row, third row. That's how we load the board row by row, and character by character, right? Yeah, I tried to do it with just next, but next would give me like a syntax or give me an error when I tried to load it because of blank space, so I have to do next line instead of next, like we did in one of the tutorials on how to do a file input output. And then we call the display board method from the checkers game class, and we have our error handling. And this is my unfinished save player data because I wanted to save the player moves and player captures and whose turn it was. So let's go to our checkers game. We have the size of the 2D array, the 8x8 2D array, and then we have player pieces, the moves, and then the captures. And then the way I did my game logic to see whose turn it was I just turn player 1's turn on or off. So if it's off, it's player 2's turn. If it's on, it's player 1's turn. Our main just calls our menu. Here's our menu. We have new game, load game, save game, view instructions, exit. And then we prompt our user for an input, and then we switch the input. So if they want new game, we initialize the board, we display the board, we start the game, and we break out. Same for load game, we call the file handler class and the method load board. Then we start the game, and then we break out. File handler, same thing, but this to save the board, that one's to load the board. And then we prompt for the menu again, because maybe you still want to play after saving the board. And then 4 is our instructions. The pieces can only move diagonally from where they start. You can jump over the pieces if there's an empty square behind it. Pieces promote when they reach the end of the board. Turns alternate till one person has no pieces or legal moves. Yeah. Menu, and I printed white space in between to make it look better. Then we prompt the menu and we break out. 5 is to exit, and then our default. So let's go to our start game method while player 1 has pieces and player 2 has pieces, so the game isn't over. So we check if it's player 1's turn, then we show his captures, his moves, and tell him it's his turn, and then we increment his turn. If it's not his turn, we tell player, should be player 2 captures. So we tell him these captures, his moves, and then tell him it's his turn to move an O, and then we increment it. And before the user puts in the coordinates of their move, I prompt the user to go back to the menu, because it says to constantly loop the menu until you choose to exit out. So I didn't know if that meant like you had to go back to the menu mid-game, right? Because you'd obviously have to, because if you want to save the board. But I guess this is just the way I decided to do it. It's probably better ways. Display, so we have we ask if they want to go back to the menu. If they don't want to go back to the menu, we go to player move and display board. And then we check if this while statement is false, right? So if they have no pieces, right? If player 1 has no pieces, player 2 wins. If player 2 has no pieces, player 1 wins. And then we go back to the menu. So yeah, so here's my player move method. Enter the row your piece is located in. I don't know why these don't make sense. Okay, and then we save it in before row, before column, after row, after column, and we -1 because indexing starts at 0. And then we pass the before row, before column, after row, after column into the player move valid to check if the player's move is valid. The row calc is to check for horizontal or vertical movement. So if the player is moving straight up, straight to the side, it's an invalid move. And the jump row is to check the tile in between where they're from and where they're going, to check if there's a piece there, and if it's not their piece, to capture, replace it with the blank, and then put their tile in where they're going. So this is my logic to check for movement. So is it horizontal or vertical movement? And then if you're trying to move something that isn't there, no piece. Then we check if it's in the restraints of the board, because it's out of the board, we give an error. If it hasn't moved, this is redundant. I don't know why I still have this in there, but this is the same as this, because it's horizontal vertical movement, it's just split up. So then we check if it's player 1's turn, and if they're trying, if the tile in between where they're trying to jump to, like say if they're trying to jump over a tile, if it's their own tile, we tell them you can't capture your own piece. Same with player 2. And then we go down to check if it's a regular move or a capture, like a capture. That should be capture move, but I don't know why I have this capture piece. Oh, my head hurts. Okay, so if they're moving one up or one down and one left or one right, it's a regular move, and we pass it to the regular move method. If it's 2 up, 2 down, 2 to the left or 2 to the side, right? So you go 2 up, 2 over, and so you're 1, 2, 3, 3 away. And if they're trying to move like 4 up, 4 over, it's too many. So we give an error. So let's go to our regular move method. If it's player 1's turn, we tell them they've made a move. We take the before, where their X was, we turn it into nothing, or like a blank space. And then where they're trying to move to, we turn it into an X. We increment their moves, and then we switch off player 1. This shouldn't be it. Sorry, that was for testing. So player 2 made a move, and then same thing. We increment their moves, and then we switch back on player 1's turn, and then we check for king promotion. So king promotion is if they've reached the end of the board. So for the X's, if an X is at the bottom of the board, it capitalizes, which means it's a king. Or if an O is at if an X is at the bottom or an O is at the top, it capitalizes, which signifies it's a king, and it can move in all directions. Then we initialize the board with blank space. We go row by row. No, we go row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6, row 7, row 8, and then you increment the column. Sorry. And then I printed the X's in like a zigzag pattern from 0 to 3. So that is the top half of the board is the X's, and the bottom half from 5 to 8 is the O's, and then you have, what is that, 2 spaces in between that are empty squares for you to move, like a normal checkers board. And I put in 12 pieces. The only thing I didn't do was give the players the abilities to place their own pieces. We did that in like the Matrix training or the Matrix unit. It was in the zip file. But I thought it was kind of stupid for a checkers board to be able to place your own pieces because you just clump them all in the corner and you just like automatically win. I don't know. But then we have our display board. We have the columns at the top. Um, then we have our like the side of the edge of the number, and then we print out our row and then what row it is. Um, we have our clear board, changes it all to blank space, and then that's our king promotion again. So let me go ahead and show you. So we have our menu, our new game, load game, save game, view instructions, exit. Let's view our instructions. Here's your instructions. Let's load a game. This is from the one that I already have saved in the text file. Let me show you the capturing. So it is player 1's turn, which is the X's. And we have one on 4-3. It always prompts you the menu before your turn. So we don't want to go to the menu. Don't type 0. We're on row 4, column 3. So 4-3. And we want to go to 6-1. 6-1. So there we go. We capture the piece in the middle. Let's start a new game to show you can save a game. So let's load up a new game. Would the player like to return to the menu? Yes. And then let's save a game. And let's load a game. So then see it loads the blank board instead of the capturing board I showed you last time. And I think that's about it. So I just like to restate I did not do the allow players to place pieces in starting positions, but I believe I have everything else. Yeah, and clearly state if any requirements are missing. Okay. And any unimplemented features. I wanted to make I wanted to have a way that you could take where you could undo moves, but I didn't know if I was allowed to use, because you'd use a stack, right, which is last in, first out. So like say the last move was 2-2 to 3-3, right? And you wanted to take that back. You just pop it out of the top of the stack. But it said there was like we weren't allowed to use array list or linked list, so I didn't know if you're allowed to use a stack, so I didn't end up doing that. Also, I don't think I really had time to do that. But there was something. I think that's it. Yeah, thank you for watching my presentation. I think that's it. Thank you.